It is today. It is a very, very important day. This is a brainchild of Dr. Tajinder Singh. I mean, it is a big honor for MEU India to honor Dr. D.K. Srinivas and hold the first Rita Sood Oration Memorial Award. Over to you, Tajinder sir.
Thank you, Sanjay. Good evening, friends, and welcome to this inaugural session of or the launch of Dr. Rita Sood Memorial Oration. In fact, for quite some time, we had been toying with the idea of starting an oration under the banner of MEU India. And as many of you might be aware, that MEU India currently has a membership of more than 25,000 teachers of health professions, which is not a small number. And in view of the networking that we have been able to create and the help that each one of us gets and gives on this forum is actually unparalleled. As I remember, Dr. Rita Sood was the one who had actually been very actively involved in initiating this kind of an activity along with our dear friend, Dr. William Burdick. I request Dr. William Burdick to kindly enlighten us about the beginning and how he saw the journey of MEU India happening. Can I invite you, Bill?
Well, thank you, Tajinder. And I just want to say it's so fabulous to see so many friends and colleagues in front of me. And I very much value and appreciate your friendship, your colleagueship, and the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Rita Sood Memorial event. I was recently watching Avinash on his speech at NCHPE 2021 when he talked about the background to education reforms in India. And it reminded me of several things, including Rita's role. But in setting the stage, he talked about an article that we had written in 2005 that led to his being summoned to MCI. And I think that that set the stage for some public awareness of the needs for reforms in education. 2005, 2006 saw the introduction of two of the FAMR regional institutes at GSMC and at CMC Ludhiana. At the CMC Ludhiana event, the first inaugural session in 2006, I was one of the invited faculty, as was Rita Sood. And one evening, after a long day of teaching at the session, we sat in the lovely CMCL guest house, beautiful facility, on the back balcony, overlooking the running track. And we started chatting about possibly convening a national medical education meeting at Ames. Now, Rita was appropriately slightly skeptical, but willing to try, and was also willing to go along with some of my slightly crazy notions of having round tables and breakouts, something that was not typically done at the time. And she took the proposal to her leadership at Ames and brought the case forward and made it happen. The result was NCME 2007. It was still called NCME at that time. We had approximately 180 participants. Now, I had the opportunity to recently reread the report that Ed Coley and Rita wrote following that conference, and they laid out 5 results. And it's interesting to look back. Now, this is a good 15 years ago. Look back and see what has happened. So they talked about the affinity mapping and the multi-voting that we did. Again, 2 kind of crazy things that were not typical at the time. And the result was 5 special interest groups. We had 1 on networking through a website. 2 was development of standards for medical education units. 3 was formation of a national organization of medical educators. 4 was development of a faculty development program at the national level. and 5 was the formation of a national body for accreditation of medical educators. Now, as you heard those 5, I'm sure you're aware that many of them have come to pass. So there is a national faculty development program that has 10 nodal centers and 12 regional centers and has reached about 55,000 faculty. There is a national organization, the Academy of Health Professions Educators, AHPE, with its own website. And there is a networking mechanism that Tajinder just alluded to, thanks to Sanjay Beatty's hard work at the beginning, MEU_India Google group with now 25,000 people. Those 3 activities were certainly stimulated and motivated, and the wheels were set in motion by that meeting that Rita Sood made happen. So professionally, that's, my relationship with Rita goes back at least to that point, and I believe that that was a major, major inflection point in education in India. Now, there are 2 other personal anecdotes that I just want to share before I close. First, I don't remember which visit to India it was, but Rita and Arun invited me to their house for lunch. And I got to meet Arun, I got to meet Akshay, I got to meet Rita's mother. Rita made this fabulous carrot pudding. I think it's pronounced gajar ka halwa. It was absolutely delicious. I've savored the taste ever since. And then the other personal anecdote is that Rita, along with Meta Joshi and some others in India, hosted my daughter, who was an early 20-something. I can't remember how old she was, but young enough for me to worry. And Rita hosted her in Delhi, and her son Akshay took Julie around Delhi and showed her the sights. Very just an endearing moment that I'll never forget. So Rita has left us, but her progress, the progress that we've made in health profession education, continues on the path that she helped to set. So thank you again to the organizers, and I'll turn it back over to you, Tajinder.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much for enlightening us and sharing with the people as to how the movement to build quality in medical education in India started way back with the organization of first National Conference on Medical Education, as we called it that time, because till that time it was not health professions education. So thank you very much for letting us know. Although I'm sure everybody knows about Dr. Rita Sood, but for the sake of priority, can I request Dr. Divi Adkoli, who had an opportunity to closely work with Dr. Rita Sood, to kindly introduce Dr. Rita Sood to the gathering.
My screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Hello, Dr. Rita. Okay, I'm supposed to introduce you, but I know that you don't want any introduction like it was. But excuse me, for sake of audience who are here, I'll introduce you. If I will introduce Rita Sood in one sentence, I would say she is an astute clinician, an empathetic doctor, and a dedicated and compassionate staff member, faculty for the residents and the students. And for completing her CV, she was the former head of Department of Medicine, also in charge of KLV Center. She completed her MBBS and MD from Lady Harding Medical College. She was very proud of being Hardonian. She also acquired master's degree in medical education from the University of Dundee, WHO fellowship in clinical hematology, and fellow at Royal College of Physicians, UK, fellow at National Academy of Medical Sciences, and actively involved in faculty development programs nationally and internationally. And she worked very closely with WHO and UNICEF. Not only that, as Bill told, She was the founder president of Academy of Health Professional Education in India. And she was appointed for the CIRAMI, Southeast Asian Regional Association for Medical Education. After that, she became the executive council member of the World Federation. And she was, everybody knows, she was a famous fellow from Philadelphia. And as Dr. Bill has very rightly pointed out, the national conference held at AIMS 2007 became a hub of networking in medical education. Sanjay Bedi took it over. And during that time, perhaps we could never imagine that one day this tree will grow from strength to strength and recognize the veterans. And Dr. Rita Sood will be remembered for this. So that is the fitness of this function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Adkoli. Can you please stop your screen sharing? Dr. Adkoli, can you please?
Yeah, I am one second. Just give me 1 minute. Have I done?
Yes, done. Thank you very much. On behalf of the MU India Group, it's our proud privilege to confer posthumously the Lifetime Achievement Award on Dr. Rita Sood. And I request her husband, Dr. Aran Sood, to kindly accept the award and say a few words. Dr. Sood, please.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. We have been to Philadelphia with Rita, to Bill Burdick also. So good evening to all. First of all, I and my family, they want to convey our appreciation and gratitude to MEU India for naming the oration to Dr. Rita Sood Memorial Oration. Also for conferring the Lifetime Achievement Award to her. I also thank Dr. Adkoli and Dr. Bill for their kind words. I would like to say a few words about her. She was born in Paharganj to a middle-class family, basically a migrant family from Pakistan. From very early schooling, she was very focused and motivated to become a doctor. So she did graduation from Lady Harding, did post-graduation, and then she joined the faculty at AIMS in '85. Continued till for about 35 years and later headed the Department of Medicine. She was, as rightly said, she was a very passionate teacher and erudite clinician. In fact, she always stressed on the good clinical examination rather than depending on sophisticated investigations and all that. I remember an incident when in a case of pyrexia of unknown origin, she just picked up thickened temporal arteries and finally a diagnosis of giant cell arteritis was made. There are many cases she worked and stressed on the residents that physical examination and a good history is a must rather than going for more and more investigations. Unfortunately, she contracted a serious disease in February 18. But she faced it with the brevity and she did not. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, I am very glad that today's oration is by Dr. Srinivas, whom she always held in a very high esteem. I remember well, she had been writing to Srinivas for many times consultation. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Aran Sood, for your kind words. And now we come to the oration part of today's function. As I said, we decided that we'll have an oration in the name of Dr. Rita Sood, and we'll club it with the Lifetime Achievement Award. In fact, what I realized is that there are many doyens and in fact, many people who have worked really hard for medical education in India. And through this medium, we want to recognize their efforts. We want to bring their success stories in front of the younger generation. And we want them to bless the ongoing efforts in medical education so that the new curriculum and the new methodologies, whichever we have adopted for the Indian medical graduate, can actually become a success. Now, as you are aware, today's oration is going to be delivered by Professor D.K. Srinivas. I personally didn't have the good fortune of working, shall I say, too much with him, but whatever little I worked had a lasting effect on me. And I'll just give a small narrative. I hope Dr. Srinivas remembers this. This was about 15 years ago when Dr. Payal had organized an advanced course under Maharashtra University of Health Sciences at Pune. And she had invited both Dr. Srinivas and me for the program.
I remember that.
Now, when I was about to start my session, it was a kind of shock for me. I have generally seen youngsters doing that, but a senior doing that was very unusual, that Professor Srinivas opened his notepad and his pen and sat through in my session, making vigorously the notes of what I was speaking during the session. Now, during the tea time, he took me to one side and told me, Tejinder, shall I tell you one thing? The color combination of your slides was not good. I was taken aback. Nobody has told me that ever. And here a person is telling me my slides are not good after I have presented these slides about 30, 40 times. So I told him, sir, nobody told me so far. And his reply was classic. And it took me many, many months and iterations to really imbibe that. He said, you know why nobody has told you this? Because you are Tejinder Singh. Thank you so much, sir, for making me aware of how to deal with feedback. We all had learned from Bill's session about what to do with the feedback, but you gave a real life example of how to really take a feedback. Thank you very much, sir.
I remember that episode. Tejinder.
That's so nice of you, sir. Thank you. I'll now once again invite Dr. Adkoli to kindly introduce Dr. D.K. Srinivas because he had the good fortune of working with Sir for quite a long time. So Dr. Adkoli, please.
Thank you very much. It's a very challenging thing for me. Dr. Tejinder has given me 2 minutes, but I will take 2 minutes more because I was waiting for these 2 minutes for 70 years. So please excuse me. First of all, whenever we talk of introduction, we say a person has 3 identities. First is what he thinks about himself. The second one is what others think about himself. And the third one is what he really is. The first part, what Dr. D.K. Srinivas thinks about himself, I am going to project as it is verbatim from the slides which he has prepared. He said he has taken 4 days to make these slides. So, very short sketch. His domain of interest is public health, medical and health professional education. Started his career in 1963 up to 1996. And he left prized MD medicine seat at AIMS and joined as demonstrator P&SM in Maulana Azhar Medical College. See his passion. And he retired as Dean Keeper in 1996. Afterwards, he did not stop there. Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Karnataka, opened an immense opportunity for him to explore his potentiality across the board because it's a new health sciences university. And DKS had the challenge of working together, bringing a uniform curriculum for the whole University, and his job as curriculum consultant was still remained as a big contribution. As far as publication is concerned, he says he has cited 97 papers and contributed 3 books. And out of these 3 books, he is very fond of one book, what is not taught in medical colleges. His life goal is very simple. He wants to be a humane, humble, and helpful. 3H. He wants to contribute to humanizing medical education. The words which he likes most: please, sorry, and thank you. And he says his message is be contented with what we are given by the world. Now I will take a couple of minutes about my angle of analysis of Dr. D.K. Srinivas. To me, he is an example of a true academic leader who satisfies the formula which I have evolved over 30 years. This is S5 formula for leadership development, and recently people have liked it. And the person who is inspiration for me to come out this model is Dr. D.K. Srinivasa himself. It's very simple. It says that set a goal, sankalpa, very important. Do self-study, reflection, swadhyaya. Next, gain synergy, satsanga, through feedback, mentoring, and collaborative learning. And this will prepare you, the leader, for seva, service. And then the ultimate step is surrender or samarpan. Dr. D.K. Srinivas started with a very strong sankalpa of doing community medicine. And then he is a reflector. All the time he learns mostly by swadhyaya. It's what I have found in him. That does not mean that he will not take others' opinion. Synergy, satsanga, by mentoring, feedback from his peers, from the students, from the superiors. That is what is the third important quality of a leader. This prepared him for seva, for service. And lastly, he is now at a stage of surrender. That does not mean that he is going to surrender. He is going to pass on the wealth of information to others. So truly, what is Dr. D.K. Srinivas? Nobody knows. But I can tell you only one thing. The name of Srinivasa itself shows that Sri means wealth. Nivas means adobe. So he is the adobe of wealth. But what is that wealth? It is not material wealth. It is the intellectual wealth. It is the wit and wisdom which we find only in Dr. D.K. Srinivas. Thank you, sir, very much. And please excuse me if I have missed it, because if I go on including all his biodata and everything, he will not have time to give oration. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Adkoli. Can you please put your screen sharing off? And ladies and gentlemen, here I present to you Dr. D.K. Srinivas, who will be delivering his oration from Bhore to National Medical Commission, a reflective journey and a dream. Dr. Srinivas, sir.
Thank you. I'm trying to screen share.
Is my screen share gone? Or it's still there?
Sir, it's still there.
It's still there. So if Dr. Srinivas shares, it will automatically be replaced.
No, I'll stop share.
Barely. Wait a minute. Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Are you able to see me and hear?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you very much. So, sorry, 1 minute. I'll go back. Give me a minute, please. I'll go back.
Just hit home.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
No, just hit home. It will go to slide number 1.
Yeah, yeah. This is a new computer. I'm not very familiar. Doesn't matter. I'll go the way I.
Yeah.
Okay. You know that Peter principle, whatever you do, you get into problem.
You have to click on slide number 1, sir. After scrolling up, press slide number 1.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
There's no cell.
Yeah, I'll just maximize that. Okay, am I on?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. In fact, for a second, I was worried that the oration may be from Adikoli than me, but thank you, Adikoli, for saying those words. And I'm humbled. So also, Dr. Arun. This is indeed a great privilege. And what an honor to speak on the day when we would remember Dr. Rita Sood. Let me start with Guru Vandana. And as Dr. Sanjay said, today is a very auspicious day, Makara Sankranti, where the sun has moved to northern equinox. In Karnataka, and so also in Andhra, in fact, all over India, this is celebrated in various ways. That is the diversity or in India, however, brings in unity. But besides that, in Karnataka and in Andhra, on this day, we visit our kith and kin, exchanging till and good. Till, as it naturally available, is in black color. And the black till or sesame, to build, I'm talking of till means sesame. Till is black in color, and black till is used for inauspicious occasions. Whereas that black till, if it is rubbed hard, and I've seen my grandmother, my mother, as well as my wife, Pita, doing that black coat is removed and it becomes a shiny off-white color. Inauspicious become auspicious. And that's a great lesson, that all of us wear black coat or black marks or black, and then we have to rub it hard to remove that blackness. And therefore, I composed this slide saying, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. And Rita stood for that. When I say Rita, many of you might feel annoyed that I am not addressing her properly. But I am respectfully addressing her the way she had asked me several times to address. I start with a quiz. Can anybody identify this image? This is Venus. And can you imagine a crater in Venus is named after an Indian lady doctor? If anyone can identify who that is, I stand a lunch for them in my home. Yes, I try. Can anybody try?
Anandibai Joshi.
Great. Who is that?
Avinash.
Who else can do that?
She is the first doctor in India.
Very great.
And then she got training in Philadelphia.
Very great. That's right. That's right. Beautiful.
And she died because of tuberculosis in 87. She could
Yes,
not
you have
practice
read the
in
book,
India.
man. You read the book.
Whole CV.
Yeah, did I send that book to you? I've sent that book to several people. Anyway, Avinash, next visit to Bangalore. You will be at my place for a lunch. Who else spoke? Somebody else also spoke.
Dr. Jamkar.
Jamkar. Yes, Jamkar, the lunch is also for you. And a friend of ours paid tribute to her, and this tombstone is in New York. As you all said, this book is this book, Lady Doctors, titled by and written by Kavita Roy, is available. And I strongly feel that every doctor, every medical student, whether UG or PG, must possess a copy of this. Why have I brought this lady into picture? Because of her pioneering work, enterprise, boldness, and she singly traveled in those days to the United States of America. As already said, she did MD or equivalent to MBBS in Philadelphia Women's College. And so did Rita at Lady Harding Medical College, an exclusive ladies medical college. These are the attributes of Rita, which attracted me and attracts everyone. She was so always smiling, very simple. Her simplicity is reflected in the fact that I met her for the first time at All India Institute of Medical Sciences during a consortium meeting, and I addressed her as Professor Rita. Immediately she turned back and said, "Sir, no, please call me Rita. Don't add any prefix or suffix." And when I went back and thanked her through a mail, again calling her Rita, again she picked up the phone and called me, "Sir, please." Therefore, I respect her words, and I've been always calling her Rita. And today, all the more, I would like to respect her. She was extremely sincere, steadfast in her work, and most important, she was so ethically, her ethical integrity was unquestioned. To give an example, she became director of the AIIMS at Rishikesh. The construction of the institution was going on. She was not very happy with the pace, so she called for a meeting of the engineers. And when the meeting was over, an young assistant engineer came to her and said, "Madam, idhar parsa chadna padta hai." She was very annoyed to hear that. She told me, I immediately put in my papers and returned back to AIIMS to my job. For her, position was not important. For her, ethics was important. Personal integrity was important. To give an examples of altruistic nature, in one of the consortium conferences, Dr. Palita Abhyakun had come, about whom I'll speak a little later, and I had gone down to leave him at his car. And then when I was returning back to the conference hall, I saw Rita coming almost panting and fast. I said, "Rita, why are you in such great hurry?" She said, "Sir, I'd gone home because my mother is not well and I often have to go and see that everything is okay there. And I'm rushing back to the conference hall." That is how she performed her duty, not only her parental duty, but duty to her parents and also to her profession. Rita, you're always with us. You're so affectionate that we can't forget you. You may not be physically here, but you are with us always. And she had many similar qualities of Anandibai, so I thought I must start with that example. Now let me go on to the business of today, that I've been asked to do an oration, and I chose this topic, Bhor to an MC. And much of my journey in the preventive and social medicine has been through this period. I also would like to share my dream with you. Very briefly, my professional journey, I started as a demonstrator at Maulana Azad Medical College in 1963. In 1960, I moved on to Jipmer when I was selected as a lecturer. And then I retired there as a dean. I stayed back for another 11 months or so as a consultant for developing, again, a curriculum and training modules for disaster preparedness training. I returned to my hometown, Bangalore, in 1997, Jan 31st. Dr. Kanta, who was the first Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi Health Science University, invited me, in fact, almost grabbed me to help her in development of that university. I retired from the university in 2006. But I must remember and thank some of the people with whom I worked or who helped development of medical education. Burdick on one side, but here Palita Bhaikun was extremely supportive for development of medical education. As you know, he was in WHO. Earlier, he was in the Regional Teacher Training Center at Peradeniya, Colombo, Sri Lanka. And Professor Ramalinga Swami, as you know, was the director of AIIMS, Delhi. Later on, he became Director General of ICMR, and the consortium of medical colleges was his brainchild. I also must remember with whom I worked at Jipmer. And some of these, Dr. Narayan and Dhanbal is in the book. I must also say thank to my NTTC colleagues. Some of them are here in the meeting, and also the consortium. What I'm going to speak, I'm sure many of you say, oh, don't I know this? Of course you know. But the Upanishad says, of course we know, but maybe there are certain things which we may not know. And let's explore that. This is a beautiful quote. What is medicine? Medicine is not merely science, but kindness. And compassion is the most important thing. And I would suggest that everyone should possess this book. The title of this book is Communicate, Care, and then Cure. And compassion is the heart of that. Look at this picture. How the smiling nurse and the smiling, the compassion is most important. I feel whatever we have done still, that kindness and compassion needs to be reinforced in our medical, or rather health profession education. I have divided my presentation in 3 parts. The past, the present. The present, let us look at the competency-based curriculum of the National Medical Commission, and future. Let me start the beginning, the past, with the 19th century, the first medical college at Calcutta, followed by Madras and in Bombay. These are the 2 students of Calcutta Medical College. I move on to the 20th century with the recommendations of the Health Survey and Development Committee, popularly known as Boer Committee. Look at these recommendations. They were thinking so far ahead. Nowadays, we say the student should learn himself, the so-called self-study. And some people are suggesting, perhaps practicing, to allocate about 10% or 20% of the curriculum for self-studies, and they had said it in 1940s. But the other one, stress and encourage research, not merely on teachers, but also students. And students should be encouraged to observe, think, and then draw conclusions. This is what the competence-based curriculum also is suggesting. But more important for these recommendations, establishment of primary health center, those days for 40,000 population. But for medical education, they suggested starting of preventive and social medicine departments because they wanted social physicians. And they were also recommended one-year internship, which is going on now. I move on quickly to the 50s, where something remarkable happened. Dr. T.M. Pai, who I had the privilege of meeting him more than once, and particularly when his 80th birthday was celebrated, he was given Lifetime Achievement Award. 36 medallions were given to him, and I saw all those things. He was the one who established the first private medical college under great difficulty, the Kasturba Medical College in Manipal. And then, remember now, there are in fact more medical colleges, private medical colleges than government colleges. At one time in Karnataka, there were only 4 government medical colleges, but 26 private medical colleges. Then we move on to the 60s, where the government of India appointed this committee to see what is the progress that has been made from board committee onwards. And Sir Lakshman Somadhyar, an obstetrician of repute, principal of Madras Medical College, later on became the vice chancellor of Madras University. He made a record, was for 25 years vice chancellor of that university. I had a rare privilege of seeing him and hearing him. His committee laid down certain norms, as you would see on this slide. That number 90 is the number of medical colleges existing at the time. And earlier, if you had noticed in the board committee slide I showed, there were only 18 medical colleges for about 30 crore people in India. Look, 2 important recommendations was to start more PG courses because the country needed specialists to provide healthcare, and so also they needed teachers. And they also suggested that 6 more regional AIIMS to be started. At that time, 1956, AIIMS New Delhi was started with a liberal grant from New Zealand government. They suggested 6 in 60s, but I think in the last only 10 or 15 years, we started development of AIIMS. And another important thing was full-time teachers. Earlier, there were honorary teachers. When I joined medicine, anatomy and physiology were taught by honorary teachers who were surgeons and physicians. Further, they reiterated that PNSM department should be there and it should be taught throughout the MBBS course. There should be an examination and it should integrate with other departments, which I am afraid did not so happen even now. Then in 60s, another important development took place. The MBBS duration was reduced by 6 months. It became 4.5 years plus 1, 5.5. Earlier, it used to be 5.5 plus 1. And look at these 2 recommendations. To attach 3 primary health centers with each medical college and to have 3 months of rural internship out of the 1 year internship. That is 25% of the period to be spent in rural areas. Followed by, in the 70s, I'm going decade by decade, and the number of medical colleges indicated. J.B. Srivastava was the health secretary. A committee was constituted under his chairmanship as Medical Education and Health Manpower Committee. They've lamented that the progress made in the medical colleges, so far as medical education is concerned, was very tardy. It was not relevant, and quality has to be improved. Further, they said these are the things that a medical student should develop to work in the community, and managerial skills and ability to innovate. This managerial skill development was very attractive. In fact, many of us arranged workshops to find out how managerial skills could be introduced. WHO had given us some grant for that. A lot of managerial experts were invited, and they said, yes, it's a good idea that some doctors should have some management skills. But when we consulted in a workshop with students, interns and postgraduates, they said, particularly the students and interns said, sir, during the MBBS studies, we should concentrate more on learning medicine. When I say medicine, both surgery and medicine, clinical aspects, etc. And managerial skills you might teach us or orient us when we join service. I think that was a great idea. Now I move on further in the 70s. And here is a quiz again. Can you identify this person?
Rajnarayan. Rajnarayan.
Jayaprakash Narayan.
Yes.
Rajnarayan.
Mobile clinic.
The-
Mobile clinic.
Jayaprakash Narayan.
No,
No, wrong.
Elephant.
Rajnarayan.
Rajnarayan.
Rajnarayan. Rajnarayan.
Elephant. White elephant. White
Rajnarayan.
elephant. White
Rome.
elephant. Mobile clinic.
Rajnarayan.
White elephant. Mobile clinic.
This is how my classes used to be. And when medical council inspector came, when I was taking class, he reported that fellow does not know how to teach. There was halla in his classroom. How can he teach? Look at the way the response I had. Thank you very much. I would have wanted to make it interactive, and it happened. Yes, he was Raj Narayan, one of the authors of the Rome program. And interesting story is that there was a smart health secretary who had done doctoral degree in the Harvard School of Business. Rajnarayan was after him to see that, look, we must improve our health services in the rural areas, must expand. And he thought, let me take this minister to UK to show the National Health Service. So Rajnarayan, with his own idiosyncrasies, went to UK, and somehow they took Rajnarayan to Bedford Automobile Company. Bedford Automobile Company was in doldrums at that time, but then they had built in a huge, one second please. Sorry for this interruption. They had built a prototype huge trailer van, as you would know, which was air conditioned. There were facilities for minor procedures, obstetric exams, ophthalmology, ENT, etc. And Rajnarayan was very impressed. Isko kharido, he said. And he sent 3 mobile vans to each medical college. And he said PSM department would look after them. And many of you know what happened to that. Rome program was derisively called as ROAM, Rome program. And many called it as white elephants. In one of the health center, they didn't know how to use. So what they did was they kept 2 vans on each, one on the left hand and one on the right hand side. like the Dwarpalkas in front of the health center. Then very important development in 70s was the Medical Council of India's new curriculum, the graduate medical education. And I would like to share with you a few highlights of this curriculum, 97. It described national and institutional goals and report specified for each subject, starting from anatomy onwards, the goals, the objectives, and the integrated teaching. And for all description, they used the active verbs from Bloom's taxonomy, which the NMC, rather which the CBC, the competency-based curricula, has used. And the national goals was very attractive. They said at the end of the student shall endeavor to recognize health as a human right. And what attracted me most was the students become exemplary citizens, practicing medical ethics, fulfilling social and professional obligations. The so-called professionalism was mentioned there. And look at that, develop scientific temper. Unfortunately, I feel that not many read this document carefully, nor it was analyzed. At that time, what happened was a number of medical colleges were started. The Medical Council of India attracted somewhat derisive comments because of their inspection. And this was set aside. Further, for internship, they specified goals, objectives, and a comprehensive list of 64 skills. A good document. But I also found certain things that Board Committee had recommended preventive and social medicine. But somehow, many colleges changed the name. Some as community health, most people as community medicine, and the 97 curriculum also called it as community medicine. And the humanities, which was supposed to be, part of social medicine, became delegated to only the first year, a few lectures. They said, look, catch them young, so we start teaching from there. But I felt they were too young to appreciate the behavioral sciences and the behavioral part of the requirement of a medical doctor. Anyway, to summarize these recommendations, these were the various committees or agencies. And notice, Board Committee suggested a social physician, Mudaliar Committee, a basic doctor, and the MCI in 1977 said, physician of first contact. In fact, the NMC also has used that physician of first contact. Shall I move on to the present? This will be purely reflection and introspection. Well, if these were the doctors that we wanted, let's see what is the doctor we got. The doctor we got is this. Say a picture is more than 1,000 words. Look at the gap between the trained product and the community need. And our aim should be to bring this gap closer. I hope we have to introspect, why did this happen? What factors we need to study now to close that gap? Well, the Medical Education Committee suggested attachment of 3 PHCs, thinking that if there are 3 PHCs, there will be more exposure to rural health and rural community. But however, even today, state governments are very reluctant to hand over PHCs. Only in few states, at Jipmer, we had taken over one primary health center. We called it rural health center. I tried my best to have 2 more, but it was not possible. A couple of 20 or 30 colleges have their own health centers. In the September of last year, Karnataka government constituted a committee, an overarching committee, and Rajiv Gandhi Health Sciences University was asked to develop a prototype for improvement of the health manpower development. That committee also recommended, as late as October of 2021, that state government should do something to hand over the PHCs. They're very reluctant. But there was no clear understanding how that handing over will be done, who will look after the staff, supervision, salary, budget. Can the medical colleges take this burden? And what would be the role of PNSS departments in that? Further, the interns rural posting for 3 months, a very laudable recommendation, but nobody had worked out the feasibility, the support that is required. Well, when the committee recommended that, at that time the college admissions were in the range of 50 to 100, but now the admission is in the range of 150 to 250. I've been a member of several deemed universities, and they say, sir, we can't run a medical college with 100 admission. That's okay. But if 25% of that interns training are to be done in primary health center or rural health center, imagine at one point of time, that is those 3 months, if you have 30 or 40 interns in one small health center, what will you be able to train? Where will you accommodate them? How will you engage them? These questions were never raised and never thought of. And that medical officer, he was not given any teaching designation, nor any training. Will the interns respect that person? And then, more recently, the NEET examination has come into fore. Earlier, the interns had chance to attempt 8 or 9 entrance tests. Now there is only one test. And these NEET-oriented, I call them NEET-oriented interns, will they think of community work and rural posting? So how to engage these reluctant NEET-oriented interns for 3 months that? These are some of the things which have bothered me. And I would like everyone to think of these. Every department, every specialty should think of that, because we are concerned with the training of doctors. Not one department can do that. Further, the recommendations were made by Bohr in the 1940s. It was reiterated by Mudaliar Committee. It's about 40 to 50 years ago. And now there are so many changes in our thinking, in our aspirations. Should this go on? And will competency-based curriculum of the National Medical Commission close the gap? These are some of the issues. But let us look at the CBC. It's very laudable. A lot of hard work has gone on. You know, it's in 3 volumes, and there is an ADCOM module, and there is an assessment module. So 5 modules. Commendable work has been done. Very hard work. I must congratulate the committee. What is new in that? They have identified 5 roles to be played by the MBBS doctor. It's called Indian Medical Project, IMG. but the goal is again physician of first contact. Let me share with you, I know you know this, but then I would like to share a few nuggets from these CBC. Just you might recall that it is 3 phases. Phase 3 is divided into 2 parts: medicine and allied subjects. Community medicine belongs to that phase, and then surgery and allied subjects. What is very interesting, there are 23 subjects, and the number of topics, as you would see, about 400. And they have defined outcomes and nearly 3,000 outcomes. The community medicine department, which is supposed to change the attitude of the medical students as well as interns, have 20 topics and only 107 outcomes. They're supposed to teach from first year to final year. I further gone into do in-depth study of community medicine, not as much to find faults, but just to see to what extent the new CBC would close the gap, whether the topics identified and competencies described will help in developing those 5 goals. You might say, why did you do about community medicine? Maybe because I've been teaching that, I taught earlier. But my suggestion is that every other department, all departments should do this at this stage. Because as Professor Tejendra said, feedback is very important. Analysis is very important. Introspection is very important. The core content is this. And you might notice I've not arranged in deliberately the serial, as per the serial numbers. There are 3 colors in this. The blue color is the core topics, according to me. The red ones are those who have been included in the 2018 curriculum. Whereas the dark ones or the black ones are, I feel, are more optional. You might also again ask, why did I separate like this? If you further study carefully the 3 volumes, one of the good work that has been done is that they have identified integrated teaching. And if you look at integrated teaching so far as phase 3 is concerned, phase 3 medical and allied and also surgery, those topics which are described in blue color can easily be integrated by other departments. There is a reason why I am telling this, and if there is time, I'll tell you this later. I also further saw that that out of 107 outcomes, there are only 10 skills. And this department, community medicine, is supposed to change the attitude and the skills and make them more community oriented. But they've got only 10 skills. And some skills bothered me a little. Look at this. The third, environment health problems. Students are supposed to identify vectors of public health importance. Is that a skill? What is usually done in medical colleges is we have mounted specimens of different types of mosquitoes, fleas, etc. And all that the students do is look under a microscope and identify. I don't know whether it is a performance of procedural skills. Anyway, I would like you to contemplate on this. The next other skills, this biostatistics skills drew my attention, skill number 7 and 8. Sampling. I don't know whether sampling is a skill. So also analysis. I thought they were higher cognitive abilities. And very interesting is the epidemiology. Please see serial number 10 on the right-hand side. Demonstrate steps of investigation of epidemic of communicable diseases. I don't know how you demonstrate steps. And in the Miller's pyramid, where does it stand? Is it a procedural skill? So I found somehow, or rather, I felt a little uncomfortable looking at these skills, some of the skills. Further, I went a little deeper to see some of the competencies. Environment, health problems, there are 8 topics. Look at these 2 competencies. The MBBS graduate is supposed to learn concepts of rainwater harvesting and water conservation. Ladies and gentlemen, in Bangalore, it is mandatory for us to have rainwater, to harvest rainwater in our houses. I did not go to any professor of community medicine to consult about this. I consulted an architect. I invited a plumber, and we have been harvesting rainwater. Why should this be a subject for IMG, the Indian medical graduate? The second one, describe standards of housing. So far, nobody consulted me in 30 years of my service about housing. We all went to architects, engineers, etc. Epidemiology, 9 topics. And this is very interesting. Demonstrate application of computers in epidemiology. Sanjay Bedi, Sanjay, this must be a shock for you.
Yes, sir.
Demonstrate application of computers in epidemiology. You can apply computers to anything.
Yes, sir.
Actually, we are living on computers these days.
Yes, sir. I mean,
remember that Facebook was off for a few hours. The entire world was shivering. And why in epidemiology? How will you demonstrate application of computers in epidemiology? Strange as it were. And what's the action verb? And assessment for this is described like this. Demonstrate through written and vios. I'm not criticizing. I want each department, each subject to go through the CBC, which is a very good document, 3 volumes, to go through, and please let us weed out these things and make it more actual community-oriented, achievement of those 5 goals and closing the gap. That's the purpose why I went through this. And this is extremely interesting, this essential medicine. It's called essential medicine. Actually, it is not called as essential medicine. It is called concept of essential drugs and rational prescription. Some of us were members of that committee. In fact, in JIPA, we have trained interns, residents on this concept of essential drugs and rational prescription. But essential medicine, the word is not. That's why I italicized it. Then, what is the competence? Describe counterfeit medicine. Nobody uses like this counterfeit medicine. And if it has to be described counterfeit medicine, it should go to pharmacology and forensic medicine or drug controller and its prevention. Does this fall in the gamut of community medicine? That's the question I asked. Why have we brought all these things? And recent advances, again, I would leave it to you to look at this and make your own comments. This is one of the competences. List important public health events in the last 5 years. What are you going to describe? Can it be more vaguer than this? Any event important to health of community. You can describe 1916-18 or 1914 World War, 1916 pandemic of influenza. And last one is the best. Human Organ Transplant Act and its implication. Why community medicine should think of act? And I'm saying this because I was a consultant to Ratanbhai Navroji Papa Trust, wherein I used to go to Chennai to assess the utilization of the grant given by the Tata Trust to a foundation called Mohan Foundation. Mohan Foundation stands for who are encouraging cadaver transplants. And this is, I feel, again, I'm not criticizing. I'm only doing a depth study, and I request each one of you and each department should now is the right time to look into the community-based and competency-based curriculum. And are these recent advances? Therefore, there is need for introspection. And this introspection is further needed because of changing paradigms, changing policies of the government, changing aspirations of the students. They are very much need-oriented now. And should we revisit those committee's recommendations, which was made 5 decades ago? The debate should start, and who will start and who will do this? I think this is high time that we bell this cat. May I move on to part 3, and I'll finish in 5 or 6 minutes. What should be the future medical education? How to bring about change? Well, I have my own theory, and I would like to share that. There are 4 ways. One is MOTS. MOTS is an acronym given by me to more of the same. Continue. It's going on well for 60 years. Why do you want to change? Why disturb a sleeping dog? The other way is OWINB, that is old wine in the new bottle, which we have been doing several times, which we have done several times. Third is revolution, which is needed but very difficult, particularly in India. Because if you do anything, people will challenge you in the courts. And courts also entertain that. You know, the admission date is fixed by the Supreme Court. The pass criteria has been fixed by Supreme Court. You know that how often NEET has been challenged. So revolution is difficult in this country. I have an idea, but I won't share now. But it's easy to dream, and nobody can stop our dreams. And I'm going to share my dream with you. My dream of future medical college will be a new type of medical college. And what is that? I have drawn a horoscope of that, and I share that. I've already shared this a couple of times, but you might ask me, then why are you doing that? An advertising person told me, unless you repeatedly tell, it won't catch. So I'm doing that now. The future medical college will again will have the goals of primary health care and universal health care. But it will be also health system oriented. There will be only 5 departments, not 23, 5 departments. They are integrated departments. One is Department of Biomedical Sciences, Department of Healthcare. Oh, can we move this our own pictures because it's hiding? Is there somewhere? Sanjay?
Sir, you will have to, on the top, there is a view button.
Yeah, view button is there. Yes.
Yes, from that you just close these images.
I'm not getting that view I wanted to do earlier. In my bar, there is no view button. That's the problem. It's
Actually,
not there.
for us, it is not masked, sir. This
Okay.
entire screen is visible.
Then it's all right. Then let me go ahead. Is it okay with you? I will also read. The third is Department of Communication and Clinical Skills and Therapeutic Management. That's an integrated department. And then the fourth is the Department of Human Values and Ethics. And fifth one is the Performance Assessment, Department of Performance Assessment. Department of Performance Assessment, and more important, enhancement. It's merely not an assessment, but we have to enhance the performance. Well, these are the 5 departments. Of course, you might call me a dreamer or a fool. Yes, I would like to be one. And the emphasis will be on these topics. Tuberculosis is still important for us, vector-borne diseases, diarrheal diseases, and then emerging diseases. On the other side, the NCDs, as you would know, cancer, RTA, road traffic accidents, are killing so many people. People don't wear helmets, people don't care about the traffic lights. Maternal health, I don't want to call it maternal health, I want to change it to women's health. But I showed as that, but it should be a women's health, and then of course child health, and a lot of research. And Sanjay's dream of IT. And I've left this blank that you could add anything else you would like to. This is my dream. A medical college with 5 integrated departments. One of my friend, Dr. Nagesh, who is from the dental faculty, is probably with us here. He is also with me so far as dental education is concerned. The 9 departments have to be reduced to 4 or 5 there. Now, with this, I conclude my presentation, quoting Srimad from Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 63rd sloka. Those of you who can read in Hindi, enjoy this. This is a statement with great depth. Itite gnanam akyatam. Sri Krishna told Arjuna, thus I have shared he says, gnanam is knowledge, I change it to journey. I'm not Krishna though. But he says it is guhyad gyuhataram. It is highly secretive. Secret means it's difficult to acquire. And it is very difficult. In here, guhya is because of not easy to change the attitude of teachers. That's how I said use guhya. And third line is very important. Vimarshaya. You do vimarshe. Vimarsh karo. Asheshena. Without this one. And yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Deliberate fully. Deliberate fully. And do what you think best. Not because I told. Not because I lamented about community medicine and all that. No. I took community medicine example because I have worked in that. And maybe I can look at it, but I want everybody else to deliberate fully. Why have we not achieved the doctors which have been recommended? How can we bring the gap, close the gap between community and the trained product? This is extremely important now because now the postgraduate students would be posted for 6 months in the district hospital. This is the right time for us to think of these things. Otherwise, it should not fail like the Rome program, the reorientation of medical education. And do what you think best. So this is the conclusion I would draw from the presentation I made. And I have put this picture of swan, and this will be my swan song. Thank you very much. I'm not going to accept any more orations because I want to be what I want to be. I want to read other things. And therefore, with all my heart, I thank each one of you for the medical education group, in particular, Professor Tejinder Singh and Sanjay Bedi. Tejinder has been communicating with me for giving me this opportunity to share my views. And this is a wonderful experience. And this experience I shared with the one who was very dear to us, Rita. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm extremely grateful to each one of you.
Thank you very much.
I hope you will take it in the right attitude, that I have not criticized. I've done a feedback, and Dr. Tejinder Singh told me that feedback is useful. And I know it was not easy for me to give feedback to him. You know his name, he's Tejas, and he's a Singh. Yet we must give, we must be bold enough to do. I accept maybe we failed, but you are the ones for the future. Please do something. Please make something that the gap between the community and the trained product are closer. This is the best time. 6 months postgraduate students will be posted in the district hospitals. Think over how would we make it's a very good idea. And how can we make idea good? Thank you very much. Pranams.
Thank you very much, sir. I wish we could have a standing ovation for the words of wisdom that you have shared with us today.
Shall I stop sharing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I request Dr. Rita Sood to join me in handing over Professor Rita Sood Memorial Oration Certificate to Dr. D.K. Srinivas.
My proud privilege, sir, to present this award to you. Thank you very much.
And we, on behalf of MEU India, also feel privileged to award the Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. D.K. Srinivas. We'll be shortly sending you the hard copies of it, sir.
Thank you. 1 second, 1 minute, Tejinder. Dr. Arun?
Yeah.
I was also very emotionally upset when I spoke of Rita because she was so close to us. I also noticed that, but I controlled as you did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll never forget her. We'll never miss her. We are with you.
So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us to make this memorable evening. And I hope we'll continue with the good work that Rita had started and shared with us. We'll have many people sharing their wisdom, some things which you would generally not hear in conferences and other meetings. So thank you very much once again, Dr. D.K. Srinivas, Dr. Rita Sood, for allowing us to start the oration on Dr. Rita Sood's name, and Dr. Sanjay Bedi for providing us with a platform from which we can build on this oration. So thank you very much and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Leave meeting.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.